So I said, you know what? I never want to be one of these guys. You know, the guys that just stood up there and just they were basically like, you know, mannequins on stage,
right,
you know, playing because they were so high. Not because they were bad, but they were just so high at the time. Yeah. So that's why.
It's fucking crazy. See, for a long time, I thought they started a lot of tours in Philly. For years, I would look at the schedules and I would see tours starting in Philly, and I thought it was because Philly's such a rough place to play. You want to get it out of the fucking way. That's what I always thought. I didn't know why, because I seen the Stones in Philly, and it was the first night of their tour, and I seen AC/DC at the Palladium, and it was the second night of their tour, and they started in Philly. So I'm like, oh, I never even thought fucking bands played in Miami and shit.
How hard is it to tour? Because I've been lucky enough to go with Joey for a couple weekends, and I'm not even performing. But leaving on Thursday morning, coming back Sunday morning, I know I'm exhausted. Like, I can't imagine doing a month on a bus going to radio. Do you do radio, or are you just sleeping all day and then doing the show? Like, what's it like?
It all depends the quality of people that you're touring with as human beings. If you can really have fun and really respect, and vice versa, they respect you, you could have the worst. You could be playing the worst shitholes. But if you really love the people and really love the music, it doesn't really matter what the conditions are. I've been in some great traveling conditions with some tours and people that I would just wish and couldn't wait for it to be over, just because, you know, to me the most important thing is the quality of the people that you're touring with, really not the accommodations.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. What was the most fun you had on a tour? No drugs, just fucking guys getting together and jamming and, you know,
it's nothing has come close to the significance of the Blizzard of Oz Diary of a Madman tour with Randy and Ozzy. Well, actually both, you know, and Tommy. Yeah, every night on stage was the Super Bowl, every single night. The quality, and of course, you know, we had the tragedy happen to us. I would say second would definitely be either Whitesnake or Dio, because I really loved touring with Ronnie. Ronnie was, my God, incredible.
Was he really from New Jersey?
No, Cortland, New York, upstate New York.
Upstate New York. Yeah. But he lived in New Jersey or something. Somebody said they saw him once in New Jersey. I'm like, come on. I'm like,
I wouldn't doubt it, because after Rainbow, he came back to the U.S. and lived in the Northeast, you know, and then he moved back to L.A. when he then started Black Sabbath all of a sudden, you know, after that.
It's funny because you talk about the Super Bowl or whatever, but on the other side of that, I still remember buying a Cream magazine and reading how Black Sabbath had just broken up, and it was fucking traumatizing. Like, it was just traumatizing. I couldn't even think. Like, yeah, like Led Zeppelin. Then once the drummer from Led Zeppelin died, there was a point where I was just lost. You know, my mother had just died. The music and the reefer was everything, and all of a sudden, you know, Black Sabbath broke up, and I'm reading this Cream magazine in February, freezing my ass off that they broke up, and all of a sudden, John Lennon gets shot. You know, and I go to Bleecker Bob's in the city, this fucking tremendous record store, and I find this EP by the Blizzard of Oz, and it's 4 songs maybe, you know.
81, yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck? And listen to me, and I'm telling you guys, this is, and the people I went with, I could call them right now and have them call in. You know, this was everything to us.
Well, you probably got the UK pressing.
The UK first. I got the 4 songs first.
That was in 1980, because in 81, that's when they actually released Blizzard in the States.
So there was, John Lennon got shot December 8th or something.
December.
So it was December or whatever when I went to the city. They were doing something at Strawberry Fields, whatever. I didn't go that way. I went into the Village. In fact, what did I go see? No, it was a different year. I went to the Village and I got that EP. I just found it by mistake. It wasn't that I was looking for it or I knew about it. And then in Cliffside Park, New Jersey, is a place called Things from England. They're still
Steve Lang.
They're still there.
Yeah.
It's, in fact, you've seen it. It's next to Rudy's.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Rudy's fucking Rudy. Yeah. It's up the block.
Well, the guy who owned the place, Steve Lang, he passed away a few years ago. But
really?
it was a really good friend of my brother Robert and me. Yeah.
He's still open.
Yeah, it's still open. Yeah. Things from England.
I think that's where I bought the Ozzy tickets. Yeah. That's where I would buy everything, because he always used to buy a block for himself.
Yeah.
So he tell you, if you're in a bind, come up here and I'll try to hook you up. I know friends.
Great guy.
Great guy. This
guy,
is
Steve.
fucking crazy
great guy.
that I just said that. Things from England. I bought so many things there. I bought so many like UK releases there. You know, as a child, like anything from UFO. I bought tons of shit, even if it's $20 more than the regular album. I tell them to put it away to the side. There was no fucking layaway then. You just looked them in the eye and said, "Dog, put that away. I'll be here Sunday. If you're not here Sunday by 1, I'll sell it." And he'd sell it. Things from fucking England. That's amazing.
How do you think that world still exists? Because now with digital, like people just go online and buy it. Like, does that even still exist to go to a store and find that CD?
I find that people usually download stuff that they will never buy anyways. If you're going to buy something, it's because you're a collector and your heart is into it. So you're going to buy it. I talk to a lot of kids, and they say, I download it because I want to see what it's all about, and they're really not into it. They're kids; they didn't grow up with that music. They're stealing music that they didn't grow up with, so they don't have any emotional connection with it. To them, it's just like, let me check this out. It's like us listening to the radio, and they will not buy it anyways.
But even if they are buying it on iTunes. Like, it's not like going to that record store and just, what is this record?
Well, first of all, it's a digital download. It's never going to sound as good as an actual LP is with the right equipment. So yeah, there's pros and cons about it. I mean, of course, we've gotten used to hearing certain things. Like, I have a couple of phonograph systems at home. LP play. The last time that I played a record, I can't even remember the last time I played an actual
album. You have albums at the house?
Yeah.
You've never taken one out and put it out?
No.
Well, let me tell you the flip side of that. The flip side of it, as a fan, as a real fan, as a fucking fan of the music, there's nothing like going home, putting the album on, and reading that album. To me, that was an hour of my day, with tears in my eyes, the whole fucking time. I'd be listening to that album, reading the cover, thank you to the Cheritons. I didn't give a fuck. I knew the recording engineers, I knew the tour managers, because there was nothing like opening up an album and taking the poster out. And it was David Lee Roth on Van Halen 2, and I ripped it up. That cocksucker, it was chained like that. I didn't like it. But the point is that there was something about that. When I download, Whitesnake on my iPod, that's it. The mysticism, the whole thing about the music, to be strictly honest with you, I bought Sabotage next to the Wing Fung Chinese restaurant. It used to have a little music store in North Bergen, New Jersey. And I remember that you couldn't wait to get home with this fucking album. And let me tell you something. You had a better chance of stabbing my mother in the neck than taking this fucking album from me, or than looking at this album. Because while it had the paper on it, nobody was going to look at this fucking album. Let me see it. No, there's nothing to see. No way on out. You don't got to see nothing here. Come over later after I listen to it. I'm going to look at this album first. You take it home. There was nothing like taking that album out, putting it on, and if it was a thing that album, you rolled a joint in there. People say that today they still go to old album places and they open it up and they see seeds and albums and shit, because that's what you did. You cleaned your seeds out. The seeds would roll. And then you'd roll your joint, you'd smoke it, and you'd read the fucking album. And you listen to the album 2 or 3 times. Then you went out and talked shit about the album. There was no internet to fucking go on and say Rudy's album is good, or it's tremendous. There was no commercials in the 70s that said get white. No. It was word of mouth. You went to the basketball court. Dog, I got the new fucking Rainbow album. Oh shit. I gotta borrow it. You ain't borrowing shit, bitch. Stop being so cheap. Go buy a fucking album. That's how it was. They've removed that. Even if I buy your fucking DVD, I open it up and it's a sheet of paper.
They don't even have that anymore.
No, I want to see something. Read me something. Give me the lyrics to the song. Give me something. I tell people that the whole, if you open up In Through the Outdoor, Led Zeppelin's last album, you take the album out, the fucking sleeve, you get a sponge, you wet the sponge, then you squeeze that sponge, and you go like that, and all of a sudden the pills and everything will pop up to life. They're all different colors. They did things to make you, if you open up some
and there were like 4 different versions.
4 different versions.
Yeah.
If you opened up some girls was brilliant
Yeah.
by the Stones because you moved the heads.
Yeah.
So there was all these advertising for wigs and you moved the faces of the Stones.
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin 3 was a thing. You spun around inside the album.
Yeah.
How much would an album cost back then?
$7.99.
Okay.
$8.99. This fucking $20 million, that's unheard of. It was about the fans. It was about them. It was about everybody made a little bit of fucking money. Everybody made a little bit of money. Everybody was fucking happy.
Well, record companies made a lot of money.
I spent $20 for him and Ozzy Osbourne. $25 at the Palladium.
For tickets?
I paid $15.50 for Pink Floyd The Wall in 1980 at Nassau Coliseum. Why would I give you $250 and go to fucking the Hollywood Bowl to sit there like a mutt? When people would kill themselves, when people were fans of the music. Fans. I mean, when they're on stage, you fucking cried. You fucking cried. You were like, God damn, I'm here. That's what it was like. I don't see that anymore when I'm not young anymore.
You know the only place I see that, and I'm not a fan of the music, but like you know those like boy bands like One Direction and like how those like young girls are with like those kind of bands. So is that kind of good? I mean, in a way.
Nah, it's you're talking about the Beatles with chicks that jumping up and down and yelling and fainting. I'm talking about guys going to see. You know, at the end of Almost Famous, when she goes off on the fucking kid, she goes off on the guy. Mm-hmm. She says a beautiful fucking speech about the fans. It was about the fucking fans, man. It was a beautiful thing. When you went to these shows, it was the biggest thing in my... Going to see you at the Palladium was the biggest thing in my world. When I found out you were Cuban, you gave me hope, man. I knew I could do something in my life. I didn't have to stab people or sell nickel bags in Union City, you know?
You know, I've been a fan longer than I've been a professional musician. And there will come a day that I will stop being a professional musician because, you know, I'll be too freaking old to be doing this. But I can guarantee you, I'll never stop being a fan.
I'm a fan. I can't believe it.
I couldn't be a musician if I was not a fan. It would be impossible. How can you be a musician if you're not a fan of what you risk everything in life for?
When I go see a band and I listen to songs, I'm watching them, I'm thinking about all the effort it went to put. And that's how I felt when I was 15.
It's a lot of effort, yeah.
When I was 15, I knew the effort that it took to do that because I wasn't doing it. I tried singing in the shower and I failed. Never mind. I knew the effort. I don't know why.
Not only the effort, but look at the sacrifices. Because you know, I'm not making stuff up here. I'll give you an example. Black Sabbath, and I'm going to give you information that came down to me from Ozzy. You know, stuff that we sit around in the bus talking about. You know, they were kids. They were kids who. One day they went to a theater, saw a scary movie, and figured out, hey, if we can make music that is scary as what the movie that we saw, we're onto something. So they went from being called Earth, to being called Black Sabbath. That was like, okay, we're going to be scary. So they started creating scary music and scary themes. They were still kids out of Birmingham in England. They were trying to find a way how to get out of that. Not have to be in the factory. You know how Tony Iommi lost his finger? This is what Ozzy told me. He was working with at a factory with his dad. It was one of those press machines. It jumped his finger, off, and his father took him to emergency. And the doctor said, "Listen, I can attach the finger." And the father said, "How long would that take to heal?" And he said, "Well, it's going to be a few weeks." And his father said, "How about if we just leave it off?" And he said, "Oh yeah, he can go back to work immediately." That was the deciding factor of him not having the full finger and having to have a little plastic thing. But then again, it changed the sound of music. He would have never sounded the same with the full hand. You know what I mean? It just changed everything. So out of that came this new sound, this Black Sabbath sound. You know, he played it a different way, and we started connecting emotionally with it, right? Meanwhile, these guys were the manager that they had in those days, they never saw any money. They just would put him on the road.
Arden.
No, this before Don.
Wow.
This way the original guy before Don. It's just like if let's say if you were Ozzy and you went to the office and said, "Hey, listen, I haven't seen any money. We just got off the road." The guy would open the drawer, pull out some keys, and says, "Yeah, you see the Cadillac? Yeah, it's yours." Now, they weren't aware that they were already paying for that Cadillac anyways, but that was kind of like, okay, well, I got something out of it, and the guy would just leave. Meanwhile, all these guys were making money that the musicians never saw, and they just kept them on the road, kept them, I've worked with some people in the industry that they make you think that you're working for management. No, the band hires the manager. The manager, the band at any time say, listen, you guys take a hike. There's going to be some contracts and some certain things that you're going to owe them, just like in any industry, if you're a comedian or an actor, you have a certain management agreement, and the guy is taking you so far in your career, and then you disconnect from that person, but still you owe them, some royalties or whatever. It's the same thing in music. But in music, they always made you feel like, oh, you guys are nothing with us managers, which was not the case. So they always kept things away from you. They never allowed you to hang out with the record company people. If they, by them, you and the record company people, no. They had to be there to make sure that they were the buffer. They were the filter for you to get to the record company, because if they figure, if you realize that you really don't need these guys, they're done. They don't have a job. So they always make it look like, oh yeah, well, we're gonna keep you guys on the road. Do you need anything, like some pot, some cocaine? Okay, I'll send you some on the road. And that's how bands were treated back then, before they got smart. Nowadays, it's very rare that you see that happen to any band.
Well, when you are a musician, the ego is built by money. Sting didn't fucking get up and leave one day. When they were three little dirty kids playing music, everybody was in love. It's when money gets involved that it breaks up bands. And when you're just a kid, you're just excited to be playing Rudy Sarzo in front of people in the garage. Who the fuck are you kidding? If I give you $10 in a joint, really? And I gave you a bed, that's a lot better than you were doing at home. So, I just want to when I first started doing comedy, I just want to do comedy. When I hate comedy? Now, when I got to deal with money. I wish I didn't have to deal with money. I would love comedy. That's when this is great. It's when money starts coming in that people, egos, attitudes get shitty. What the fuck, I just watched that documentary again about the Eagles. They went to them one day and said, this is so us three, we're making all the money, and you're sitting at home and you don't get no money. I can't see that either. Us five guys, we're a band, but you're not giving me all the money. And I wrote the fucking riff to Hotel California. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I'm a paid salary. So that's one thing that's complicated about the band, that I would have shot everybody in the band. Now I know why, It's tough. That's tough. The money thing is very tough.
Yeah, and it's the manager's job, or whoever is in charge of being the counselor for the musicians. Where it could be a lawyer, because a lot of bands actually have a lawyer, and rather than to have a management that they have to give them the commission, it's up to these individuals to be the clear heads, because clear heads will prevail in a situation like that. Rarely do you see it happen. Rarely the powers that be side with whoever has the most power within the band, whether it's the guy who wrote the songs or the guy who is the most popular, has the biggest fan base, or anything like that. Rarely do you see somebody coming in and saying, listen guys, let's sit down and make this and work this out. Because once, to be honest with you, in certain situations I've tried to be that guy, and with not much success, but at least I knew that I couldn't go to sleep if I just let it fall apart without me trying to be reasonable and say, listen, why don't we work this out? And of course it did not get worked out, but nevertheless, it's people like that really make a difference. Because again, thinking of the fan, as a fan, if I grew up with certain bands, and once they start changing the personnel, the band members, it wasn't the same band anymore. I wasn't into the band anymore, because it was kind of like, I grew up with lifers and teams, like Mickey Mantle was a Yankee his whole life, Bobby Richardson, all these guys, Tony Kubick. It wasn't like they were with the Yankees today and then they were with Boston the next year and stuff like that. I truly believe in people who are members of a group for their entire career. And this is coming from a guy who's played with many bands. But it was never my intention to do that. It's just happened. But ideally, yeah, I would have rather been with just one band. Of course. I didn't have any aspirations of moving forward or, moving on to something else when I first started doing this. No, of course not. I've been married for over 33 years now. 31 years. So I wish I would have had the same type of music career, for life.
Same
married.
5 guys.
Same 5 guys. Or let's say somebody passes on, like it happened with Brian Jones, even though Brian Jones was out of the band, by the time, and then he passed away. But, things like that, just the same 5 guys, 4 guys, whatever, And, that was my intention.
I think about a band like Led Zeppelin, who had 9 albums. These are guys that were, they had problems. They had drug problems. The singer lost a kid. There were problems there. How many bands today do you see with 9 albums?
None. I don't know.
How many? How many fucking bands? Bad Company had a couple albums too, 7 or 8 albums.
Yeah.
You don't see bands like that no more. The Beatles had 90 fucking albums. I mean, yeah, Tony Bennett's got 60 albums, but he's by himself.
Yeah.
Every once in a while he duets with Lady Gaga or some shit. But besides that, I've always been a fan of bands and music and what comes along. Like I said, I would be that guy that just rolls joints on the fucking tour, like when the Stones did something in Jamaica or something, just to see the process. Do you write your own music, Rudy?
Yeah, I do.
And how is the process from A to the album? I mean, how does that work? It's you by yourself?
Well, it's a matter of writing the music and then convincing everybody else that that it should go on the record, which is the toughest part of them all. Yeah, because if you're not the singer is gonna gravitate towards the music that they write, because it just makes sense. It's like telling a singer sing this melody is like a singer telling me play this bass part. You know what I mean? So you're getting into their territory. So the best thing, the second best thing you can do is to actually collaborate with the guys or the singer, because again, you're going to have vocals and you're going to have melody, vocal melodies and lyrics in the song. So if you can actually collaborate with the singer and let him come up with whatever he feels comfortable, and or the message that they're going to deliver, then you're on the right track.
Is that like the hardest part, do you think? Because I know I used to be an editor on TV, and I hated, even though you can't really admit it because it's part of being professional, but I hated when I would come up with something and then a producer would come in and say, "Oh, I don't like that." So let's say you were pitching your song and they wanted to change it or they didn't like it. That feeling must be terrible. It's like the worst. I would imagine it's the worst.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you have to just leave your ego out and just what's best for the big picture, no matter how screwed up the big picture might be. You just go with, a lot of times you're gonna have to go with the flow, of the individuals, and it's tough. It's tough. It's like imagine you trying to, what you're gonna be doing tomorrow night, 3 other guys, and you're gonna talk them to them into like, okay, this joke, that joke, you tell this other joke and you do it this way. Can you imagine that? It's a pain in the ass.
I was watching the James Brown
documentary.
This
brilliant.
One. Did you watch it? Mr. Dynamite with Mick Jagger when he talks
the
to
movie.
Mick Jagger.
Yeah.
No, not the movie. The one the documentary. It's playing now on HBO.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, you haven't seen it with Mick Jagger?
No.
And they told Mick Jagger that in 1965, Mick Jagger was watching James Brown on the sidelines. They were doing a show together.
Yeah.
And I guess the Stones were headlining it.
Yeah.
James Brown wanted to kill him because he wanted a headline.
Yeah.
He couldn't understand. They're like, it's a TV show. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But they said when James Brown went on the stage, that Mick Jagger was on the sidelines, traumatized and in shock.
Yeah.
And they showed. Did you see it?
I saw they had that scene in the movie that just came out, and James Brown's like, follow that, welcome to America.
Yeah.
He blew them off stage.
Yeah. Oh my God. And that's when Mick Jagger says that's bullshit. He goes, as a matter of fact, it was a different audience. They came in and changed the sound.
Oh.
The band. It was bullshit. It was a complete different audience. I don't know why they said that. He goes, yes, his performance was, they showed it. If you watch the documentary, they show the Stones,
Yeah.
and they show James Brown, and James Brown just took it to a different fucking level altogether. And they show Mick Jagger putting it together, but no, he didn't.
Well, I mean, you have James Brown, who's the real deal, and then you got a bunch of white kids from England who were influenced by James Brown and all the all the blues players and all of that. So you have like second generation. So, but just like Elvis and all the other white artists they could actually relate to the white kids better than an Afro-American musician could.
Even though those African-American musicians were brilliant.
Oh, they were the best.
Brilliant.
The best. Nothing came close.
Nothing.
No. It's the real deal.
Listen, David Ruffin from The Temptations, to me,
Yeah.
has one of the greatest voices of all time. The problem with him was drugs, too, and he was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But The Temptations, and they were all from Jersey. Like, they were all, like, if you really look into it, all those labels, all those kids were from Jersey. And I heard those songs, and I forget the one, This Magic Moment, that guy's voice. I don't know who sang that.
Oh, Jay and the Americans, Jay Black. Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me? That is just, I mean, are they black?
Well, the only thing black about him is his last name.
Tony Bennett, God
We're
bless him.
going in like fucking Marines, you understand me?
Welcome to church, motherfucker.